Hello there! Many people were asking about this render of mine. So, here's the step-by-step tutorial for this. Let's get started. Create a sphere object and put it under the cloner. Now, change these parameters like I'm doing. Just increase the count to your liking. Click on the cloner to select it and add a random effector. This will add some randomization to the position. I'm also going to add some randomization to the scale parameter, although we might delete this effector later. Select the sphere and lower the radius amount to something like 10. Now we can clearly see what's going on. Select the sphere, make another copy of it, and rename it to Tiny. You can rename it to whatever you like. Then lower the radius to 2. I'm going to keep duplicating and renaming and changing the radius for variations. Renaming is necessary, otherwise you will be confused which one is which when you're adding materials. In this way, you can precisely add materials to the sphere you want. Like if you want to add a glossy material only to the tiny spheres, you can just select all the tiny spheres and apply the material at once. Now, I'm going to add a cylinder object for the spheres to collide with and leave an empty space in the center. Set its orientation to -z and also change the radius and height accordingly. Now add a collider tag to it. Lower the friction to 0 and increase the bounce to 0.5. Turn off the visibility. Now, I'll duplicate this cylinder and use it to contain the spheres inside the shape. I'll change its radius and height parameters. For better visibility, you can add a display tag to it and change the display mode to lines. Also, you can go to front view and see how big you want the cylinder to be. Turn off its visibility as well. Right-click on the cloner and add a rigid body tag to it. Play the simulation. As you can see, it's working fine. But we don't want the spheres to fall down. And to fix that, we have to set the gravity to 0. Now they are not affected by any forces. I'll turn off the random effector now. The spheres are going crazy now. To slow them down, I'm going to use the friction force. Before that, I'm going to reduce the cylinder height. Now, create a friction force and change its strength amount to something like 80. Play now, and you can see it's so smooth, not going crazy anymore. I'll increase the number of clones again. Just enjoy the process. Now I'll start creating the vector field required to use with the field force. Create a volume builder and put a cube as a child of it. Change the volume type to vector. This will create a vector field. Change the cube parameters so that it encompasses the whole thing. Select the volume builder, click on the cube, and increase the internal voxel range to a higher number. This will make sure you have the vector field influence all the way to the center. It is necessary to get the best results. Now, I'll create a random field and put this under the volume builder. Select the volume builder, click on the random field, and change the creation space to objects below. This will make sure that this random field has its effect over the entire vector field. I'll increase the scale parameter for better results. Also, add some animation speed to get some movement. Disable the cloner and play the timeline to see how the vector field is animating. Select the volume builder again and change this mode type to cross. Now, we have a curl noise field to play with. Now I'll create a field force that's actually gonna make the spheres to move. Select and drag the volume builder in the field force as a volume object. Change the velocity type to set absolute velocity and increase the strength value to something like 200. Turn off the visibility of the volume builder and the field force for now. I'll also disable the field force and play the simulation. Pause the simulation here. Go to the rigid body tag and set this frame as the initial state. Now the simulation will start with this as the first frame. Enable the field force and run the simulation. We are seeing some movement. I increased the center cylinder's radius and running the simulation again. I'll also turn off the friction force. I don't need it for now. If you think the spheres are moving slowly, then increase the force strength value. Just play with the seed value, or you can change the noise scale as well to get the desired result. You don't have to follow the exact steps now. I'll create a spherical field in the field force and change its blending type to multiply. I want the field force to only be effective within the bounds. I'll go to Dynamics, clear the initial state, and run the simulation again. I'll set the initial state at this frame and disable the friction force. I want the spheres to revolve over time. To do that, I'm going to add a circle spline to the field force. Turn on the display option for the field force to see what's going on, and change the parameters like I'm doing. It's only for visualization. Change the blending mode of the circle spline to max. Decrease its opacity so that it doesn't overpower the main curl force. Go to Direction and change the length to normalize. Play with the opacity amount. Go to the project settings and increase the substeps, iterations, and collision passes for better simulation. Now, we're ready to cache the scene. Save your project and hit Calculate Cache. We can play the simulation in real time and see how everything looks now. So that's it. That was the main setup. Now, the rest of the process is just lighting, adding materials, and rendering. I hope you can do that based on your liking, using the render engine of your choice. Create something new and different. You don't have to follow the exact process. Still, you can watch the whole process in a fast-forwarded way. You can still follow along and learn. I hope you got to know about some cool stuff. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'll be uploading more tutorials from now on. And if you want the complete project file to play with, follow the link in the description. Also, if you can, become a member on my Patreon. That would be nice. You will get videos early, along with other benefits. Have fun!